I'm pretty confident to say that I have at least over 50 interviews over the past couple years. And here's the thing. I always find myself struggling with this confidence issue whenever I'm interviewing. It's like whenever I'm talking to an interviewer, I feel super insecure. I was kind of just like seeking for their approval all the time. I want them to like me, regardless of what the job is. And that feeling simply don't go away. And I hate it so much. And then over time, I realized, okay, this is actually a pretty common problem for other people as well. And most people was coping with this the same way as I did in the past. Like I didn't do much about it. I was thinking, okay, maybe some people are just kind of just born with that confidence. They can just be themselves in interviews. They can be comfortable. And I'm not that person. So I'm probably stuck with that feeling and mentality for maybe a foreseeable future. I used to think practicing like crazy can help me solve that problem. Like I was locking myself in my room in front of a mirror, memorizing all those interview scripts, every single line of answer until I get to a point where I can say things backwards. But guess what? That didn't do shit either. Like I was still feeling freaking rattled and uneasy as hell in interviews. I didn't came across as being confident or assertive or likable, even though sometimes I was actually 100% sure that I can do the job, but the problem is still there.
So, Chip, what makes you think that I'm going to let the whitest man that I have ever seen interview for our firm?
Because I have an appointment.
But then I have this experience that completely changed my perspective on this. It was actually one of the interviews I've been to, and that interview was for one of my dream job back then. And fortunately, before I walk into that interview, I already have a very strong competing offer, which pays very well. Essentially, I already have another good option before I have that conversation. And like, holy shit, that difference was insane because I never felt that empowered in any other interviews. And then in that conversation, I was being so assertive, like naturally assertive. I was literally leading that conversation. Basically just being like, hey, I am awesome. Do you want to hire me or not? And don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about being arrogant, being a full of yourself. It's more about not seeking for approval and being grounded. And ever since that, going forward, every single time I was interviewing, I was trying my best to remind myself of this exact same feeling. And it's not really about the things I said or any very specific line of answer. It's more about how I can trigger that feeling within me again. It turns out it works extremely well, even without a competing offer. And here's what you're gonna do. You look at yourself in the mirror and you ask yourself this one question very genuinely. If I'm the hiring manager, am I gonna hire myself? And if the answer is no, or if you hesitate to say yes, well, guess what, dude? You got something to work on. Whether that's your tangible skills, your mentality, or even just the way you see yourself. And I think the same principle applies to other areas of your life, whether that's business, your health, fitness, or relationships, whatever. If you're a guy that's struggling to find a girlfriend, or like if you're desperate for a relationship, been a while, maybe you can also ask yourself in the mirror, be like, hey, if I'm a girl, would I date myself? Or like even more explicitly, if I'm a girl, would I myself? Real talk here. Most people don't even make it through the resume screening or the HR screening. So if you actually ended up being in that interview room, get to talk to a real person, basically the game is mostly interview now. And the number one thing that's going through a hiring manager's mind when they're talking to a bunch of candidates is just that simple. Do I want this person on my team or not? And here's the actual problem. We often feel like we're not good enough. And what do we do when we feel that? We're so obsessed with improving those qualifications on paper. Things like certificates, hard stats, all that bullshit. The problem with those things is that they don't really fix our core insecurities. Like I saw this post the other day on Retno where there was this guy who passed all 3 levels of CFAs. And he was just kind of posting something to kind of brag about how he passed all 3 levels at such a young age. And the most funny and ironic part was that throughout the whole post, the only single one benefit that he mentioned about passing this is that oh, it's actually pretty cool that I got to put these 3 CFA letters after my name on LinkedIn. Like, I was like, dude, are you fucking serious? The thing is, many people saw these type of posts and it kind of just triggered them to compare and feel anxiety that they're not good enough. And it happened to me when I was younger. Like when I passed CFA level 1, I was looking at other people passing level 3. I was like, damn, I'm not good enough. Like these people are so good. Also, people find other reasons, be like, my English is not good enough, or I have an accent when I was speaking English. It's like all those reasons that they internalize to prove to themselves that they're not good enough. Like there is no endpoint. But realistically, an interviewer probably wouldn't like you significantly more because of that 3 letters after your name on your LinkedIn, or maybe because you speak English with a better accent. Like that's not the core thing. They're not like make or break factors.
We should hire you. Jesus, I'd give you the 25 grand as a signing bonus.
I'll take it.
Unfortunately, we only hire from Harvard. And you not only did not go to Harvard Law School, you haven't even gone to any law school.
What if I told you that I consume knowledge like no one you've ever met and I've actually passed the bar?
And don't get me wrong and take it too far. Like, yes, your resumes and qualifications needs to be good enough to get you in the room. But most people who made it to the interview room can probably do the job equally well. But nobody talks about the interpersonal part. And there are other levels you can pull, things you can work on, and just focus on one thing at a time until one day your answer to that mirror question is a solid yes. Doesn't really matter if you get there by believing in yourself a little more, accepting your limitations, or actually improving your skills. Just get there. And that's the end of this video. And if you want to chat a little more on your specific situations or dig deeper into this stuff, my DM is always open. I'm actually currently working on something to help improve people's confidence and being more assertive, and I'm gathering people's feedback. And that's why I would love to learn about your experiences, and I'll be happy to help through chats if I can. Anyways, I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next.